Hello everybody, this is Dr. G. Rex Kruhly, the founder of Depth Healing, and I have a significant amount of information I'd like to pass on to you this morning. So if you'll take a moment to listen to this, you may find it very fascinating, especially any of you who are familiar with Dr. Bruce Lipton. One of the most, for me, Dr. Lipton is one of the greatest men in the world of science today. I admire him, admire his work, and I've followed and read his work for over 30 years now, or about 30 years. So he just, yesterday on Instagram, I saw him and listened to a beautiful talk that he gave, because the world is in such a bad state now. You know, everything is rough. And because of the lack of coverage in the media, most people in the West have no clue what's actually going on in Gaza. I have clients as a doctor who are from Palestine or Palestinian, and they've been informing me of things. And, you know, so Dr. Lipton made a beautiful post, and I would like to trailer on Dr. Lipton's post for you to, shall we say, since I'm the founder of Depth Healing, deepen the information, and so that when you're looking at what he's saying, you have a stronger understanding of all of the factors that actually go into this, okay, which will help you understand yourself and help you to help the world, okay? So one of Dr. Lipton's most fundamental teachings is that the collapse, because everything's collapsing, and one of the fundamental things that he's saying is it has to collapse in order for something new to be born. So he's couching it in a real positive framework, that the collapse is a really good and necessary thing, because it has to collapse to bring in a new civilization. According to NASA, apparently, in order to sustain, I believe Dr. Lipton said, to sustain life the way we're living in the world today, we would need 1.6 Earths, and we don't have the other 0.6. The Earth and its resources and so forth are limited. And whether anyone believes it or not, that's, you know, just, if they don't believe that, they're delusional. So the collapse is necessary, the collapse is happening. So he says, you know, if we want to fix this, you can't change Mother Earth. So we have to change. We have to change. He was saying that the civilization that is creating the problems is the problem. So like we're in the 6th mass extinction. We're way past the middle. And we are the cause of the 6th mass extinction. Other mass extinctions prior to that were not the cause of humanity. Huge natural disasters and things. But this one, it's us. It's humanity. It's the civilization, the lifestyle, the attitude, and so forth and so on. So his answer is, he says, we have to change. Our behavior has to change. And in order to change that, he very accurately says that this is a crisis of consciousness. It is our consciousness that gives us our behaviors, which is killing the earth, killing off each other, all the different things. It is, so this is a crisis of consciousness. Whether you're looking at military power or whether you're looking at, doesn't matter what you look at, the only thing that creates is consciousness. Now the new science, as Dr. Lipton explains in that talk, it's very clear absolutely proven and accepted. Quantum physics is the most accurate, single most accurate science in the world today. And using quantum physics and looking at epigenetics, and they realize and understand that consciousness is giving us our world, you personally and the collective. And it's all created that way. That is the creation process, because everything is energy. Okay, now, so Dr. Lipton constantly says, principle number 1, we are the creators of our life. That includes your health. That includes your wealth, your kids, your wife or husband, your boyfriend or girlfriend, everything. We are the creators. And this is what I want to go in on a more deep level, so you understand what actually is going on. Because he doesn't go into that level in this talk. What Dr. Lipton is very lovingly trying to do is help people to raise their level of understanding. You can't change or address anything if you're not aware of it. So what he's trying to do in his talk is just bring that up. Then I want to take it to the next level of understanding. So because of quantum physics, because of consciousness is creating everything, we have power. We do have a certain amount of power. Now, what I want to say to you here is what is being created by you individually is completely dependent through resonance on your baseline dominant vibration. For instance, what I mean by that is if you have a person who is fundamentally really angry, they're just filled with anger. That is their fundamental baseline dominant frequency. Then let's say you have another person and they're a bubbly, super, always happy, in love with their life, and they're just happy. That's their baseline dominant frequency. Some person, their dominant baseline frequency is, all they see is everything that isn't there. They don't have this money, they can't afford this, the fridge is empty, the floor is dirty, the windows are, that's their dominant lack and pessimistic frequency. And the other person never sees the dust or the dirt, just sees how beautiful the furniture looks, how lovely the sky is, and they always see everything full. They're just aware of abundance. That's their dominant frequency. Okay? So each person is going to be through resonance. That is the expression of their power is the life that they get. Because that frequency, everything runs by resonance. There are no exceptions to that in the world, in the universe, and anywhere. It runs by resonance. And the fundamental principle I'm trying to say to you is, it is the dominant, consistent frequency that will give you what you get, what you receive, what you create. If you go up and down, angry, happy, that's what you get. Because the universe itself, we call the universal intelligence, the big overarching intelligence, all it says is okay. There's no judgment. It never was. So the universe itself, the grand total, All it'll say is okay. So if you're angry, it says okay. If you believe you don't have anything, it says okay. If you believe you have everything, it says okay. That's how that part works. So the principle I'm trying to say here is you want to become aware of your dominant frequency, which is what gives you your frequency, your perception. What gives you your perception is the crux of the human problem. The subconscious mind gives the perception, not the conscious brain, the subconscious mind. That's a big issue. So what happens is, for human beings to do what Bruce is saying, to change your, he says, change your perception, change your attitude, and then you'll have a new life. That's true. But there are three confounds. The first, I call them the big three. So the first one is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance means with your educated brain, you want to go right. And in the subconscious mind from childhood, there's an imprint program that says you can't go to the right. The subconscious program has 1 million times more power than the conscious brain. The ratio is conscious brain 1, subconscious 1 million. Now that's according to Dr. Lipton's own research. And that's validated by Dr. Dispenza and Nassim Haramein and Shriyama Bhagavan, the great avatar. That's accepted science. It's a 1 to 1 million ratio. That's a big ratio. And the subconscious, which is running the show, it's operating 95% of the day, minimum. The conscious brain here, it's only operating up to 5% of the day. So it's very weak. So cognitive dissonance in the big three is number one. Number two is your actual level of consciousness. Not your education, your consciousness. The lower the level of consciousness, the more difficult life is. The higher the level of consciousness, the easier and the richer and better the life is. And the higher the decision-making process is. Higher consciousness is not destructive. Low consciousness is destructive. And this is a big one in the big three, your relative ability to hold a conscious intention. Now, most people, about 98% of all the population, if you ask them to watch and count 10 breaths, 10 out breaths, let's say 10 out breaths in a row. And if their mind wanders before they get to 10, they have to start back at 1. 98% of the population can't do that. If they can do it, they might do it 2 times before they lose concentration. So in terms of your dominant frequency, when Bruce is saying you create your own reality, if your relative ability to hold a conscious intention is 30 seconds, 1 minute, I'm sorry, nothing's going to happen. That's why when you see Dispenza's meditations, they have to do very, very intense, consistent, always consistent, because they need frequency, duration, and intensity, and it has to be enormously intense. Otherwise, you will change nothing. And that's why this is one of the reasons I'm going to explain why you don't see anything changing. So you have to understand those things, folks. Anything else is la la land. Now, Bruce is saying, if you ask, how can I have a happy life? The fundamental first question you ask yourself is, well, how is my life? How is my health? How is what I do for work or for a living? How are my friendships? How's my marriage? How are my kids? You look at it. Why are you looking at it? Because all of that surround is showing you your subconscious programming. Because Dr. Lipton has explained extensively through the years, it's all from the subconscious programming. I'm a specialist of subconscious programming. I eliminate it. That's what I created depth healing for. So you ask yourself that question, and then you have to look carefully. Don't make excuses for anything or justify anything. No need to judge any of it, but look at it. How is it? Now, if your life is full of stress, how much of your stress is conscious? Many times I'll have a new client and I'll say, so how is your life? Oh, they start out, my life is so good, I'm so happy, everything's wonderful. And after I talk to them and ask them a few questions, they start to open up. Next thing I know, they're crying and they're stressed out of their mind. What happened? All that happened was, initially, the consciousness of the stresses in their life is not on the foreground. And then when they're talking to me and we're going into it, the stresses move into the foreground and they become aware of the stresses, or they become aware of the pain. Once they become aware of it, we can heal it. But you have to become aware of it. So stress, how much worry is in your life? How much fear is in your life? It's always the same thing. It buries down. Our brain, our human brain, is designed, as Tony Robbins will explain to you, it's designed for us to survive and to try to be happy. Well, the brain isn't so much. The brain is basically to keep us so that we can survive. So what it does is it deletes. All it does for the majority of the time, because 40 million bits of information, a minimum, is being absorbed by you at all times. 40 million bits. Conscious brain only processes 40 bits of that information. So all of the other millions and millions and millions and millions of bits of information, they're all being deleted or covered over. Because you're not made to process all that stuff. There's no way to do it. So the amount of stress, the amount of worry, and the amount of fear, those are all frequencies. And they are radiating from you. And that law of resonance I told you, the dominant frequencies, if it's fear, stress, worry, pain, that is what you are attracting, meeting, living in. Because it's the dominant frequency. You might go to a party with your friends for a while and get high or whatever, but that's like spitting in the wind. The main wind is the fear, the stress, and the anxiety, right? Okay, so the point of what I just said is, it has to become conscious. You have to become aware of it. And Bruce's, one of his ways of trying to get you to see your subconscious world is by your life, your friends, what's around you, what's your house look like. That's you. That's you. My house, I keep my house really nice. My car is a mess. That's something I have to work on because that's a part of me, that mess, and whatever the car represents. And I see it and I know it. I haven't addressed it, but that's a part of me. And there's a gap in me from the car to the house. They should be the same. That's how that works. To become aware inside yourself. So as Bruce says, we're all creators. But what's actually happening right now in the world? Destruction, neglect, violence, rape, pollution, poisoning, slaughter, torture. Is any of it changing? No. It's not changing. You have pockets that are changing. Conscious people, like if you're listening to this and you've gotten this far, you have a lot of consciousness, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be ready to listen to this. So you have, let's take an example of the Heart Math Institute. Beautiful, absolutely angelic organization. So they're really growing and they're advancing and they're evolving. Sri Amma Bhagavan's group in India, the Dalai Lama's group, when Thich Nhat Hanh was alive, may he rest in peace, his beautiful group. These are just examples, right? I'm just giving examples. Yeah, they're growing and they're evolving and they're maturing, but the majority of the world, and I'm going to be explaining how morphic fields work, is not changing at all. So I want to explain a little bit about the creation process with the subconscious and the unseen. What you're looking at, the reason humanity is so destructive and so full of fear, why they can control everything with their idiotic jabs and what do you call virus stuff and all of that. Why does all this work so easily? Why don't people, when Bruce Lipton is talking, every educated person can understand what he's saying. And his examples are beautiful and clear. He always speaks from his heart. That's why I just admire the man. Everyone can understand, but nothing changes. The wars will escalate. The fires, the rape and pillaging, the sex trade, the demonic stuff, all is growing, is having a great time. Why? Why does that happen? Well, I've given you the main clue is that the subconscious has 1 million times more power. If you have the subconscious mind programmed, it's a done deal. That's why Bruce Lipton himself always explains about the Jesuits. Over 500 years ago, the Jesuits always said, give me the boy till he's 7 and I'll give you the man. Because they've always known, the elite has always known, you just program up to the age of 7 and then the programming is completed. Everything else is on automatic from there on. Now, what you're looking at in the world now is the result of decades and decades and decades and decades, generation after generation after generation, founded through the elite, the people in the mystery schools and so forth that knew how the mind and the brain work. A very, very carefully graduated brainwashing, okay, via the education system and the media, with each generation, whatever level of sophistication they had. And then that automatically is all reinforced through social pressure, peer pressure. Almost nobody can ever fights peer pressure. And then it's all manipulated. It's been in the modern world now, the way we have, they manipulate the foods and the water so that they make your brain weak, wipe out your ability to focus clearly, give you brain fog, which all reinforces the brainwashing being done through the media, through the music, through everything, okay? And then through the foods and the genetically modified Frankenstein stuff, they wipe out the strength of the body. They've taken out the sperm count now. The white males are going extinct. I don't know if you know that. Gender characteristics, everything. It's a very sophisticated engine, folks. Why do you think they could shut down the entire world in a matter of basically days with the COVID nonsense? Why do you think they can blanket the entire world in 5G towers? And nobody says anything. It's just, it all happens. It's all just programmed. It's all programming. And then all you have to do with programming, it's like when you turn on a computer, and let's say this key, if you touch it, it activates a virus. So virus is in the computer or the field. You touch the button, and then the virus plays. That's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking at. So when Bruce is saying we just have to change our behavior, it's true, but very hard to do. That's why I made depth healing technology. With depth healing technology, I can and I do that every day. The only issue I have is I only reach who I reach, who calls me, or if I can get a collective with depth healing, I can help literally hundreds to thousands of people at one time. But I need the connections. I'm just a little guy. You can help me by calling me, giving me contacts, and I'll show you just how powerful when I remove cognitive dissonance and increase the flow of grace in your life. Then you'll see what Bruce Lipton is talking about. With depth healing technology, I make that a reality. So, because of the decades and decades and decades of the brainwashing, they do things like a pandemic, which makes a giant field of fear, terror. That is the dominant frequency. Because it's on a collective level, it's exponentially powerful. And that creates the horrible, by resonance, the horrible destruction, murder, fear, war. And what most people don't know, it also affects weather systems. Totally. Now, the human population is not the only morphic field. The total global field includes all plants and animals, even the tiniest insects. The consciousness of all of them together they refer to in India as Kalki. But the human population, because of the way we are divinely designed, we have the majority of the power, of course. So the dominant frequency, like you can go outside here and see someone that's a very highly educated person in the academic world wearing their little bib. Why is he wearing his little bib? Because his dominant frequency in his consciousness, he thinks he's in danger, that he's afraid to breathe. Yeah. That's the consciousness. It has nothing to do with his education. Academic education means little to nothing. The brilliantly educated populace has engineered us to the point where the human population, according to NASA, has a maximum of like 20 more years. And then we're gone. Gone. That means extinction. 70% of the animal population on the earth is already gone. The educated masses cut down the Amazon. Amazon, everyone knows the Amazon is the biggest source of oxygen for the planet. Now, in the oceans, if you eat a single snail or a clam or any seafood, you're actually consuming plastic. And this is done by educated brains. So consciousness, I want you to understand, consciousness and brains, education or data, are two different things. Okay? So Bruce keeps saying we don't need to change the world. You don't need to change the world because you can't. What we do, he says, is we need to change the consciousness. And what I'm explaining to you is why that is not so easy. See, you can do brain reprogramming. Like Bruce and I both love a system called Psych-K, which was developed by Ron Morris. It's brilliant, and it's validated by functional brain scans. So I've used Psych-K myself for over 30 years. But you have to understand something about brain reprogramming. It does not remove dissonance. It doesn't remove the negative emotional imprints, anything that's deep. It doesn't remove them. Heart math does not remove cognitive dissonance at all. It overlays it. So you know when you have a housing project, they do this a lot in Texas, and then, you know, with terrible results. So what happens is they have a landfill, and the landfill is dumped all kinds of horrible cancer-causing stuff, and it's buried under the ground. And then some contractor comes along and has that big land there, and he builds a housing project on top of the landfill. And it really looks great, you know, just very beautiful, everything. And about 20, 30 years, 40 years later, everyone starts developing severe cancers and dying. So subconscious, negative subconscious, especially emotional programming, it's there. And you do brain reprogramming or heart math, nice meditations, you can get an overlay. But under the ground, the programming is there. And if an environmental trigger, like a trauma, it could be a sight, a sound, it could be anything that triggers the deep programming, it'll activate. It'll override the reprogramming. So with depth healing, what I do is I go in and I disintegrate the negative program. I find it and I disintegrate it using quantum physics. I use destructive and constructive interference waves. And I disintegrate the negative program. So now, if they use heart math, or they use Reiki, or they do brain reprogramming with NLP, they have real power because there's no dissonance anymore. The trigger is gone, and when those triggers are gone, the frequency signature of the trigger or the negative programming is also removed. Now, what does that mean? Let's say you were sexually raped and abused as a child, and you're in your 30s or 40s now. All of the sexual abuse and everything is in your frequency. It's in your frequency signature. So it's part of what is radiating out into the universe, which is bringing things back to you. When I remove that and disintegrate it out of your field completely, and that's what depth healing can do, what it does do, then that frequency signature no longer vibrates from you. If it's not there, the law of resonance says nothing can come back to you with that frequency. Those kind of people can't come back to you. Those kind of experiences can't come back to you because they can't find you. You don't have a signature frequency to locate you. It's got to be able to locate you. If your frequency is elevated from, say, a 3, which is, let's say, a level of shame, and that's removed and elevated up to a level 7 of self-love and self-appreciation, the people and the world that you used to live in when you had the frequency of shame, it doesn't meet you anymore. It can't find you. It's in a different strata. You're in an upper strata. That's how consciousness works. That's how the law of resonance works. That's what you guys what the world likes to call the law of attraction. So depth healing technology is something designed specifically for actual change. And it does it. I've been doing it for 12 years. I'm about 98% success. There's been a couple of people that I couldn't help. That's all. Now, I want you to understand about morphic fields. What is a morphic field? Everything, all that is nothing but morphic fields. Just field. And they're all interwoven. Just like you're sitting there listening to me, and at the same time, microwaves are going through you, television's going through you, internet's going through you, everything, all of the different frequencies can occupy the same space. So everything is morphic fields. So the easiest morphic field to relate to is the cloud, the Google cloud. What is it? It's a gigantic electromagnetic field, and the information that you upload into that thing is encoded in photons of light. So it's just like you think of it like a big fog, and it's an electromagnetic field. It's a specific field. The Google cloud is a specific morphic field. Okay? The total Earth has a collective morphic field we would think of as the planet herself, plus all forms of life, plant and animal. Everything together makes a giant consciousness. And then there is the consciousness of humanity, And then there are the consciousness within humanity of, say, Italy versus Japan. And then within Japan, there is the consciousness, morphic field of, say, Tokyo is different than Nagoya. And LA is different than Miami, Florida. And then you have the races. And then so there is very, very gigantic and very complicated. I'm just checking my notes because I don't want to miss anything. So the global collective is made out of uncounted, innumerable beings, all contributing by what their consciousness is operating at. So let's look at this pandemic nonsense. What they did was they put all the programming in. Then when they hit the button, the fear goes. So the fear is the glue that holds in. And then they use a thing called cognitive priming. Cognitive priming means you just keep priming it to remind them, because you need the frequency, duration, and intensity to make the field do something. So that's why they use things like the mask. And then they show you on the news. You should never ever watch the news. The news is being used as cognitive priming to make you shock, which hits the amygdala, the little gland in your brain that's your, it's like a sentry watching for trouble. Every time they shock you or you see something that scares you, the amygdala releases cortisol, stress hormone. Stress hormone is more addictive than cocaine. So what they do is they make the giant majority population terrified. So they have a morphic field of fear. Now let's measure that. Let's say that on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being unconditional love, you have the collective, the global collective is terrified. So they're all operating, they have millions and millions and millions and billions of people that are terrified, that believe if they breathe the air, they're going to get attacked by something flying around. So that is that giant morphic field. Now, you have, say, the Heart Math Institute. I think the last I heard, I think they have something like 300,000 members or more. I hope it's more. Well, anyway, all of those people are practicing heart math, and so what they're practicing is heart-centered meditations that focus the frequencies of love or gratitude, and they have a morphic field. If you have 300,000 or more, that's a good size field. But so let's say the Heart Math Institute is vibrating at a frequency of, if 10's unconditional love, let's give them a 7 or an 8. Very high. So they're having an influence to the global collective, but it's just like a spot. The biggest part of the ocean is all fear. So it has the power. It has the money. It has the political backing. It has the attention. It has the shock factor that makes you addicted to the cortisol, the stress hormones. It's connected to all of the, and supported by the pillars of all of the decades and generations of brainwashing. So can you start to see the problem? That's where I come in. And any other system that you can ever find that can actually remove dissonance, actually increase your ability to hold a directed attention. Because you must, if you want to actually affect something, anything, you have to have the frequency. I don't just mean the vibration itself, but how many times, how often in the day do you focus your brain on your mind or your heart on unconditional love versus looking at the phone and answering emails and surfing the phone or fighting traffic in the car? What operates the majority of your time? That's why meditation beautiful, but if you think you're going to change your whole world with meditation, you're dead wrong. I wish it was that easy, but it's not at all. Like I say, you have to just look at what's actually happening to see what is the majority of the frequency and the law of resonance. Where is it? That'll give you the consciousness of the planet. I live in Southeast Asia. The consciousness here is so low. I never dreamed of a consciousness as low as Southeast Asia. You know how many millions and millions and millions of people Asia represents? If they're all unconscious, just obedient, you have any idea how that affects the global collective? So Bruce means well, you know, and he understands everything I'm talking about here too. Much of it I learned from reading him. But you have to, if you don't understand these things, you'll just let time go by. And as Jim Rohn said, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years from now, you will arrive somewhere. The question is where? And will anything still be alive? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is when Bruce says, if you have a clear vision of what you want to do, you can create it. Again, that is true. The power of visualization is enormous, but it has to have the appropriate duration and intensity of being able to hold the image. I fixed my back. When my back was broken half when I was 27, I sealed it within 12 weeks of meditation. But I was doing 12 weeks of meditation 7 days a week, at least 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. Same thing with Dispenza when he broke his back. He was bedridden, and then he had food, and he had his shelter. He didn't have to worry about anything else. So he just rebuilt his back with his concentration in mind. Me too. But I was living at home. Mom was feeding me. Everything was handled. So I got 4 straight hours. And I had the intensity because I was terrified of being crippled for the rest of my life. They wanted to fuse my back and destroy my whole career as a martial artist. So I had a very powerful why to meditate for 4 straight hours, visualizing my back being completely all better. And then my subconscious mind and the quantum physics, epigenetics, does the job. My point is that the vision, yes, but you have to have the intensity, the frequency, and the duration, and the lifestyle to do that. Otherwise, it's just another pipe dream. And in order to save the world, that's why the divine is trying so hard because Bruce is correct. The consciousness has to actually change, or we go down. All the great civilizations on this earth before us, they all vanished. Consciousness has got to change. Now, I'm not the divine. I funnel the divine. I channel the divine. And I have the science to really change. I mean, I change people's lives like this every day. So you can get a hold of me. My website is depthhealing.org. Depthhealing.org. You just get a hold of me. The other thing I want you to know is there is a galactic level power surge on January the 15th. Now, if you're in America, it'll be your evening of the 14th. I'm doing a free special event to have people's prayers and their desires and their needs met by the divine directly. It's on my morning of the 15th here in Thailand at 8 a.m. Thailand time. Go to my website, depthhealing.org. You'll also see posts from my admin Johnny here on Instagram and my Facebook, and then Depth Healing Facebook, Depth Healing TikTok. It's free. There are things you have to do. There are prayers that you need to write out in a format. Go there, look it up, and attend. There will never be a period more powerful for the remainder of our lifetime, all of us, than that day. It's because the earth is going to align specifically to the galactic center. Specifically, and it's a 12-hour window. The apex of the power is 12 noon Indian Standard Time. Wherever you are in the world, 12 noon, January 15th, Indian Standard Time. The period, the total 12 hours starts 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time and goes to 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Again, it will never, ever happen again. And if there is ever a time on this earth in your lifetime to receive divine grace, have physical miracles occur in your life, your health, whatever it is, that is the day. And again, it's free. The entire world is welcome. There will be the Zoom link on my website. I couldn't recommend it enough. Okay, and then that entire 12-hour period, any kind of sacred activity you do, any kind of donations you make, anything beautiful you do, it will carry enormous good karma and grace. All right, so that's my message for today. Love you all. We're coming up on 2024. Kali Yuga ends on January the 15th. Kali Yuga ends. Kali Yuga will coast to a complete standstill by the end of 2025. So this is an important message. Keep it, listen to it a couple of times. I gave a great deal of information here, and I mean every single word of it. God bless people like Bruce Lipton. Lipton is a genius, a lovely man with a tremendously huge heart, and he's utterly sincere. Respect him. I hold him in the highest of esteem. All right, so bye for now. God bless you. Please have a good Christmas season. It's my birthday on the 26th. And try to have a good season, eh? Start the new year with the finest, clearest, strongest intention. If you need my help, just get a hold of me and I'll take care of you. Seriously. Bye for now, folks.